Hi everyone, welcome to What on Earth, your weekly news in a nutshell. This week has been full of all kinds of news, including a flailing Bojo and his Brexit bumbles, but I thought that these other pieces are sure to rock your world harder. We start off in Hong Kong, where Ms. Carrie Lam, the chief executive, issued a formal statement on Wednesday withdrawing the controversial extradition bill. This bill was the primary cause for protests in Hong Kong that have been happening over the last 14 weeks. While this was a big step forward for the Hong Kong government to take, many people say that this was too little, too late. Protesters aren't satisfied with just one of their 5 demands being met. Aside from the withdrawal of the bill, protesters also want an independent probe into the use of force by the police, amnesty for arrested protesters, a halt to categorizing the protests as riots, and the implementation of universal suffrage. But guess where Miss Lam is now? She's enjoying the complimentary spa at the Marriott Nanning. Just kidding. But Miss Lam has dodged the protesters for the week as she's gone to the Pan Pearl River Conference in Guangxi, where she'll be meeting with executives of other cities in the region. So, any statements from the Hong Kong government will surface only next week. Until then, protesters are probably going to continue playing tag with the Hong Kong police force. Moving a fair distance northwest of Hong Kong to Kashmir, the Indian region which is like the bill at a restaurant. Everyone is fighting over it, even after it's paid. India and Pakistan have long since been fighting over this territory. In fact, 2 out of the 3 wars that they have fought against each other have been over Kashmir. This list of wars doesn't include cricket matches between India and Pakistan, which cause far higher collateral damage. On the 5th of August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi did something unexpected. He stripped Kashmir of its autonomy as a special region by revoking Article 370. Article 370 allows Kashmir to have its own constitution, a separate flag, and the freedom to make laws. The Kashmiri people had no say in this decision making. And while that's enough reason to make them mad, the Indian government went a step further and imposed a complete lockdown on the region, cutting them off from the rest of the world. This change in Kashmir's status has infuriated Pakistan, and Prime Minister Imran Khan has thrown the kitchen sink at the Indian government while shouting himself hoarse about the injustice being done to the Kashmiris. Prime Minister Modi has, so far, treated this rhetoric like water off a duck's back. But having pressed the lid on Kashmir down, he's probably worried sick about what's going to happen when he lifts it back up. Staying in India, on the 22nd of July, the Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO, launched an unmanned probe to try and land on the south side of the moon. Ambitious, especially since the Chinese has already gone looking for transformers on the dark side of the moon, and they haven't told us anything about that adventure. The program, which was called Chandrayaan 2, got its moon orbiter in place and then launched the moon lander containing the rover that would actually explore and search for stuff on the moon's south pole. However, when Indian scientists were getting the lander to descend onto the surface, they went through 15 minutes of terror and lost contact with the lander about 2 kilometers above the surface. According to Kailashavadi Shivan, who's the chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO had done whatever was humanly possible to find out what went wrong. But so far, the reasons for this issue are not known. But I have a theory as to why this has happened. The launch of Chandrayaan 2 coincided the birthday celebrations of the Indian elephant god Ganesha. Devotees celebrated by creating and adorning models of the Chandrayaan 2 along with idols of Ganesha. And I don't think that the other 32 million Hindu gods were particularly ticked about Ganesha getting all the credit for the launch of Chandrayaan 2. Okay, we're going to skip a couple of continents and talk about the United States, specifically Hurricane Dorian, the storm that put Sweet Home Alabama back on the charts. Donald Trump recently embroiled himself in a hilarious scandal called Sharpiegate because of Hurricane Dorian. Weather services and forecasters claimed and predicted that the hurricane would hit Florida and would also brush parts of North and South Carolina. the American president decided that the hurricane needed to hit Alabama as well, even though no forecaster had supported this claim. In fact, yesterday, Hurricane Dorian left the North American region after wreaking havoc in the Barbados, Florida, and North and South Carolina. Nevertheless, Mr. Trump has been tweeting his wig off throughout last week, claiming that he was right all along. He even went to the extent of getting his Homeland Security advisor, Peter J. Brown, to publish a report saying that Alabama had been in the storm's path. Donald Trump's inability to admit to a mistake was later dissed by CNN when they responded to a tweet from Stephanie Grisham, the press secretary, saying, quote, "Yes, we made a mistake which was fixed in less than 30 seconds. And now we are admitting it. You all should try it sometime." Damn, that slaps harder than Indian moms in Bollywood movies. But where is Sharpie in all of this? Well, in a video of Donald Trump talking about the storm, people noticed that a tiny addition in black pen was made to the map, indicating that the storm would hit Alabama as well. Whether or not it was Mr. Trump or a netizen who made this is yet to be found. But the video sparked the creation of countless internet memes of people drawing on Trump-related pictures. Like this one, where someone decided to draw in people to make Trump's inauguration feel less empty. So in the end, even though Dorian caused a huge mess on Earth and on Twitter, at least it gave birth to some fantastic internet memes. Our main story for today is about Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country known for its culture and cuisine, beautiful beach, and man-eating tigers. It's one of the fastest growing countries in the world with a GDP growth rate of 7.3%, higher than India, China, and all of its neighbors. And this is mainly driven by an economy that's dependent on remittances from abroad, agriculture, and government services. But there's also a dark side to its success. 7.5% of the population live below the poverty line, and almost 35% of the rural population lives under the extreme poverty line. And Bangladesh has never been able to make a significant change to this number. So they did what any country would do. They outsourced the solution to the problem, and they outsourced it to one of the biggest, yet least known charities in the world, BRAC. BRAC is a Bangladeshi charity that aims to contribute to social and economic development, especially in rural areas. It was voted to be the top global NGO of 2019 and was founded in 1972 by Fazle Hassan Abed, an accountant. They run development programs in rural areas and educate poverty-stricken households. BRAC, since its inception in 1972, has been a huge success. In fact, statistics from 2018 show that BRAC was able to provide loans to almost 8 million people and educate over 1 million children in Bangladesh. So BRAC is essentially a beacon of hope for the poor that has helped the Bangladeshi growth story. So why then is there a high chance that BRAC will fail? Well, there are two main theories. First, BRAC is losing its support from its main funders, and it's happening at a rapid rate. And second, the Bangladeshi government is too dependent on BRAC, and that is not a good thing. Let's take a look at the first reason. BRAC's grant contract with Australia and the United Kingdom expires in 2 years, and that is scary. BRAC's largest source of grants are these two countries, and once the money stops coming in, BRAC cannot continue doing its good work. Why is this bad? Well, since Bangladesh is growing and there are less poor people in the country, there aren't going to be enough good Samaritans out there who are going to be willing and able and convinced on sending donations to Bangladesh, specifically BRAC. But surely the Bangladeshi government will step in and help BRAC. Not happening. Bangladesh's GDP has skyrocketed, mainly thanks to BRAC's work. Because of this, Sheikh Hasina's government has started spending. And when I say spending, I mean spending like a teenager in a Supreme shop, left, right, and center. The Bangladeshi government has started spending on digital education, advanced technology, making funds accessible to everyone. You name it, they're swiping money at it. This isn't great for BRAC, because if funds dry up and the government won't help them, they can't continue doing what they've been doing for so long. The second reason is the polar opposite of the first, and it's even scarier. Critics say that the government is actually too dependent on BRAC, and that the organization is acting as a parallel state. Essentially, it has as much power as the government, but it's accountable to no one. If you find that hard to comprehend, it's essentially like the Putin-Trump relationship, in a very twisted way. Putin is running America, but he's accountable to no one. And so on, so forth. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if BRAC somehow goes for a toss, it'll be very hard for the Bangladeshi government to drive their economy forward. Or maybe even stay afloat, as their primary source of GDP growth will be gone. So what's the solution? Well, there's only one: education. Not for the people, but to the government. If it's the first scenario that comes true, then BRAC needs to educate the government on why their services are so important and why they need the government to keep funding them in the future. If it's the second scenario, then BRAC needs to show the government how they do what they do. Not just the Bangladeshi government, but the government of other countries as well. If they aren't able to do this, then it's hard to see a future for the rural population of Bangladesh. And it's hard to see a future for BRAC. Well, that's all for today. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And if you didn't, feel free to leave some feedback in the comment section below. My name is Markandeya, and this is What on Earth, your news in a nutshell.